I'm Roxane Webster.
And I'm Keith Alba.
We are the owners and partners of My Home Team at Keller Williams. And what is this?
This is the Honest Hour.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
All right, what are we talking about today?
Well, yet again, we're coming back to the NAR settlement and the class action lawsuit settlement. Some interesting things as we start digging into it and digging more into the details of
The kind
this
of
settlement.
ramifications, the ripples.
Yeah, the 109 pages of this settlement, you kind of have to dig through and then start thinking about the down the line ramifications.
Mm-hmm.
And one came clear to me just the other day, and I verified with some folks. It's terrifying, Rox. It's absolutely terrifying. So one of the requirements in the NAR settlement is going to be that the agents need to secure what's called an exclusive right to buy prior to opening up of.
That's excellent. They should have been all along.
Right, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Within that contract, there are certain sections or boxes that can be checked in terms of that buyer agent's compensation and who's going to be responsible for it.
That's right. You can either authorize us to seek that payment from the listing agent or seller, or not, and be on the hook. You know, if you do authorize us to ask another party to pay it, we can check off boxes that say either if we can't get that payment, you're going to pay it, you're responsible for it, or if we can't get that payment, you're not responsible for it, I'm working for free.
Right. Or the third option is just buyer, you're obligated to
You're
pay.
obligated to
right.
pay.
And so whatever's being offered goes back to the seller or something along those lines. So those are basically our three choices. The scary part comes in when dealing with the E&O insurance.
And what is E&O insurance?
E&O is what we refer to as errors and omissions insurance.
That's
It's
right.
required for us as licensees to have an errors and omissions.
It's like
insurance policy.
malpractice insurance for your doctor, right?
Because we're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of assets and value and that sort of stuff, where many agents, if they mess up and there's damages that are caused to the consumer, they may not have the liquidity or the net worth in order to make it right. And
make it right.
we have to carry these insurance policies to kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah.
It's great. I love the E&O.
Me too.
But not even every E&O policy is created equal.
Uh-huh.
Some policies out there require that an agent receive compensation, commission from one of the parties.
From somebody.
Yeah, one of the parties in there in order to have that coverage. So my concern is we have an agent out there who signs an exclusive right to buy, and it says the buyer seeking compensation from the seller, but buyer is not obligated.
Right, which a lot of agents do, because I'm going to say it, they're too darn weak to have the conversation with their buyer and say, hey, this is what I'm worth. Are you willing to pay it? And do you authorize me to seek it from someone else, right? If you're not willing to have that conversation, people kind of sneak by in the middle of the night and check off the box that says, I'll try to get paid by the seller or the listing agent, but if I can't, then you're not on the hook for it. Then what happens?
Well, now that agent is legally bound to the terms and agreements that are contained within that exclusive right, and that's representing the buyer. So a buyer goes out, they fall in love with the property, and now, based off of this lawsuit, the seller could potentially not be offering any compensation to the agent representing the buyer.
Right.
So they're legally bound to represent that buyer,
All their
to write the
fiduciary
contract,
duties.
yeah, to do everything. Like they were getting
Inspections, all of
compensated.
it.
Yeah, but they're not going to get any money at the end of the table. They're working pro bono.
The buyer is not on the hook for it because the agency agreement between you and that buyer says, nope, you don't have to pay it, and the seller is not offering it. So now you're doing all that work and nobody is obligated to pay you by contract.
Yeah.
And what's the cherry on top?
Well, now there's no coverage for certain brokers. If their E&O policy requires them to earn a commission, right, and they don't earn that commission, they're not going to have coverage. And if there's a problem later on and that buyer has to sue the broker for failure to represent or a big mess up or something that they did.
Let's see, they made a mistake because is it possible that somebody who is too weak to ask to get paid or is moving too fast to check off the right box in that buyer agency might just possibly make a mistake in the contract that ends up costing the buyer some money? I think that's possible.
That's possible.
And we're
now
saying there's no insurance.
They may not have a backstop of that insurance, which leaves them personally liable, right? And if they're personally liable and they get a judgment awarded against them, that's a court's basically saying, yeah, you messed up, right? And now that buyer's agent doesn't have the funds in order to compensate the buyer what the court said that the damages were worth.
Oh my God, so there's
Right.
gotta be a joke in there about the agent with the dumb contract and a hurricane, what do they have in common? Somebody's losing a house, right? I think in this case, it's gonna be the.
Scary. It is definitely scary. So luckily for us, our coverage is one of the best in the state. Our coverages go up to $1 million, where the state approved one and it's limited at $300,000.
And I'm gonna come back
we do
to-
not have to have that requirement.
And the bottom line, this whole discussion, all of these ramifications are over agents not doing what they should have been doing all along, and which some of us, maybe a lot of us, have been doing all along, which is representing our folks with jealousy, with jealous good faith. Really taking those fiduciary duties to heart, informing you, being transparent, earning our compensation because it's backed with 50 years of experience, right? And the people who caused these lawsuits to start with, it's no skin off our backs. We've been doing this all along. Right? I'm just really worried about some of these silly people who got into this thinking, oh, I'm going to get a real estate license, and every time it rings, it means $15,000. Well, okay, it might mean your house if you're not filling out these documents properly and if you're not doing your job properly.
Yeah. Consumer beware, right? That may be something you want to ask your agent as a part of your interview process.
And if they don't have a good answer?
It's just errors and omissions insurance. What are the terms?
What are the terms? And if they don't have a good answer, they don't know the answer, they haven't looked at it. You know what? I hear McDonald's may be hiring. Shut up. Give us a call.
There you go.
All right.
Have a good one. We'll see you in the next one.